to make it today. And we had a number of items that were considered for consent. Those would be 1 through 4, 7 through 13, 15 through 19, 21. So those will go with a recommendation for approval from the chair to council. I'm going to continue item 20. I know there's people here to talk about that. My commitment is to have a special hearing on that. Simply stated, I'm not satisfied with the proposal, and I haven't been fully briefed by the department, so we'll do that this week and schedule it for a special hearing next Tuesday. Okay, on items 5, 6, and 14, it was my intent to receive and file those items. Can I do that?
Talking about note file 5, that's no problem. The other one was number 6?
6 and 14.
Okay, 6.
My question is, do I need a second vote on that?
No, you can recommend approval. These will go to council as a communication from the chair, and then they will vote to take up the item, and then they decide. So it won't stop anything.
But my recommendation is to receive and file.
Receive and file. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Receive and file on number 6, and the last one's receive and file number 14 there, sir?
And I believe that leaves only item 1. I don't have any cards on any of the other items, so we can proceed with item number 1.
Item number 1, motion Alarcon Krikorian relative to the installation of equine traffic control devices, related funding mechanisms, and related matters. This item has also been referred to the Transportation Committee.
Okay, so who's first, DOT or Rec and Parks? Let's do DOT first.
Selwyn
ahead.
Hollins, Executive Officer, Los Angeles Department of Transportation.
Okay.
The instructions are, we support the instructions to provide the equestrian safety devices at the locations identified in the report. We believe we can accomplish this with the financial assistance as proposed in the report and have the installations completed by spring of 2013.
Okay, so what, at this point, what does it take to get these projects going?
All we're going to need, there will need to be, in order to transfer the funds as identified in the report, there will need to be, an amendment to the report that would specify the particular accounts to place it in within our department, but that's just a technical correction. Outside of that, we have already designed, for the most part, the plans that need to be made, and we'll get started as soon as the new year arrives.
Okay, so we're prepared to do that? Where's Gerald? Gerald, why don't you just, for the record, say what we're doing with DOT? Gerald? No, go ahead. You're on.
Thank you. Gerald Gubiton, Planning Deputy with CD7. As you know, we've been working with DOT and have updated cost information on these so-called rapid flashing beacon devices, which are less costly than the full traffic signalization.
Right.
So with the cost information, we'll be able to then transfer the appropriate funds, if necessary, from the sources that we've identified.
Okay, so what's the next step? We introduce a motion?
Correct. We could, through a motion, do the technical transfer, confirming the cost from DOT.
Okay, now, there was, some of the funding was a donation, included a donation. To what extent are we relying on there's two funds that, one is a donation and the other is the golf course funds that we were relying on for this?
I think it'd be helpful for DOT to give us an update on the cost information and what you may need.
Yes, for each of the locations, we're looking at, there's the cost of the materials to actually implement the devices, and then there's the cost of staff labor, which we would do it on overtime. Obviously, this is not a budgeted project, so we would rely on some additional funding. The estimates we have at this time would be roughly $30,000 per location, and that would include the new devices, the signals, or the signage associated with that as well. Whereas before, if we had to do the full installation with the new signals, we were looking at well over $100,000.
Okay, so the projected cost of 90,000 or 100,000 was based on a full traffic signal?
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting a no over here and a yes over here, so Brian, why don't you step forward and tell me what's going on?
Good morning, Brian Gallagher, Transportation Department.
Uh-huh.
The $90,000 to $100,000 cost estimate that was previously mentioned to this committee was the cost of the actuated pedestrian warning beacons, a cost of a full traffic signal, which would provide a red, yellow, and green signal to the drivers.
Yeah.
Depending upon the location, the cost could be between $300,000 and $500,000. So
Well, that was never contemplated.
that was never
Yeah.
contemplated because it was just cost
So
prohibitive.
what is this $30,000
The
thing?
$30,000 is a brand new technology that we're looking at to replace the actuated pedestrian warning devices. And with new technology, a lot of the times the cost is a lot less. So we're looking to do this new technology to provide a similar display to the motorist, but it will be a lot more visible to the drivers at a lot less expensive cost to the city to implement.
But it accomplishes the same purpose?
Yes, and because the cost is less, we're able to implement that solution at more locations.
Great. Well, then it seems to me that we can accomplish that with the funds that we've identified without having to worry about the donation or the golf course money. Right, Gerald?
Right. Another source we've identified is the Lobos Canyon Amenities Fund, 100,000,
Right.
50,000 private donation, and potentially the golf course fund. So
Well,
less cost, yes.
Yeah, but we might be able to find it in-house without having to worry about the other issues.
There was an additional improvement that was identified by Foothill Boulevard, Osborne Street, and Little Tujunga Road by where the bridge is.
Mm-hmm.
That was not previously considered as a element of this program,
Mm-hmm.
but with that $50,000, we can also provide the flashing lights there, and we can possibly relocate the crosswalk to align with the equestrian trail.
There's a yay. So the 20,000 is for the crosswalk, for the sidewalk improvement?
I'm not sure exactly what improvements are planned for that location, other than just a general conceptual improvement about moving the stop signs and the crosswalk and improving the flashing lights.
Okay, so this is the rectangular rapid flash beacon.
Yes.
We got to come up with something cute for that. But it's a bright, rapid flashing light which warns motorists when pedestrians, and in this case, equestrians, are crossing the roadway. Okay, so essentially, we need a motion identifying the funding stream, and you can get, if we could get this approved by the 14th, you can get going by the 1st. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. He said yes, but you didn't answer.
Whatever someone says, I got his back.
Okay. Okay, then that would be the intent, is for us to identify the funding. We have at least 100,000. We have to identify a little more and my assumption is that there are 4 locations times 30,000 plus 20. So that's 140. Is that correct? Do you have a breakout someplace?
Pardon?
Do you have a breakout of the cost someplace?
I don't have a breakout of the costs on here, no.
Am I getting it right? There's 4 signals that are these RRFBs. So that would be 120,000, right?
Roughly, yes.
And then you said the 50,000 included the 30, so I'm assuming the other repairs were 20,000.
Yes.
So I'm coming up with about 140. I don't want to nickel and dime this thing, but my point is that I think I can cover that with my office funds, and just want to make sure we get into dirt as quickly as possible. Okay?
Okay.
So we'll identify it. So I need you to break that down in somewhat greater detail, and then I can allocate the money. Okay?
Okay.
So hopefully we can introduce a motion to allocate the money this week. I'm not even sure if we need a motion, do we? I think we need a motion for Lopez, but we don't need a motion for AB 1290.
You do need a motion for AB 1290. It's just a standard motion.
Uh-huh. But it doesn't have to go to committee.
No, it just goes straight to council.
Okay, so we can get, if we can introduce a motion by, say, even tomorrow. So if you could you hammer this out by tomorrow in terms of the cost?
Yes.
Okay, then Gerald, work with Becca, my chief of staff, to make sure we have the money. And whatever we do have, we're gonna do a motion. Okay, no later than Friday, I guess. But I'd like to get it done by tomorrow. So if you can meet with Gerald immediately following this meeting, that would be great.
Okay, will do.
Okay, great. Unless you need to go figure something out.
We'll work with Gerald.
Okay. Okay, let's move over to Rec and Parks. Please don't leave. We have a number of cards. Rec and Parks, the main question here is that the Angeles National Golf Course Trust Fund was, I believe, supposed to dedicate $250,000 for horse trail improvements, and that was allocated when? Or that was not allocated, but
According to our records, it was received in 2008.
so we actually have the money.
Yes, I confirmed
So
with
it's
our
more than
accountant.
250 at this point because we got all this interest.
All I saw was the $250,000.
Well, I want to know about interest.
It's
Yeah.
part of a larger equestrian. It was the account that it was placed in has other deposits in it, so it's
But I want to know
identified as a line
I
item.
want to know what the interest rate is on that trust fund, and then I expect to get the interest applied to this account as well.
So the
Why wouldn't it?
Hi, Councilman,
Yeah.
Mike Shaw with Recreation and Parks. Yeah, we'll check to make sure it's in an interest-bearing account. We just don't have that information right now, but we'll get back to your office right away.
Why wouldn't it be in an interest-bearing account? Where would it
should
be?
Just Melinda doesn't have that information. It should be, but we'll get back to your office right away on that.
Okay, so 8 years, even at 2%,
Yeah, no, agreed.
or you said 2008?
Mhm.
So 2008, 2012, 4 years, even at 2%, that's, maybe $15,000 or something. But, yeah, I would like to get that information. And so what is the plan for this money? What have we been doing with the $250,000?
The original motion specified a particular trail development near to the golf course, but it's not on Rec and Parks land, so we really haven't acted upon that. We don't have any theoretical argument with transferring the money to DOT so they can do these improvements or as identified by this committee.
The ones where there's a nexus, some of them
Right.
don't have a nexus to the golf course.
So we would request that the city attorney or the CLA take a look at that to make sure that the expenditure of the funds does comply with the original intent of the motion. And then the transfer of funds would have to go before our Board of Commissioners for approval.
Okay, both? Which commissioners?
Rec and Parks Board of Commissioner.
Rec and Parks? And, okay, but why is the money just sitting there?
I don't have an answer for you, Councilman. I'm not, I mean, until you've
We get a gift of
initiated this.
$250,000.
Agreed.
The department's
Until you
continually,
initiated this process, I wasn't familiar with the funding
the
source.
department's continually harping about cuts to staff, and here we have a pot of money and we're not using it.
But it's got to be used for a specific purpose, so it's, the good thing is
Absolutely,
the
but
money's
part of
there,
that
so.
purpose is to use Rec and Park employees to improve the trails.
Agreed.
So we could save jobs by using this money to fix the trails.
Agreed.
So what can we say, what can we do about getting a plan?
I thought we were working with your office too to get a plan together so we could start spending some of this money and getting some of these improvements done. I don't
Okay.
know, if that's not happening, we'll make sure that that's
Is it happening, Gerald? What are we doing? My staff member doesn't like to talk on the microphone.
We spent a lot of time clarifying the original condition on the trust fund
Yeah.
and what it meant.
So what have we learned?
That it is related, as Melinda said, to an improvement of an equestrian trail from the golf course to like Wheatland.
But it's one specific horse trail?
I believe so, yes. To connect the golf course to that side of Hanson Dam.
Oh, so okay. So you were saying that it's on private property, golf course property?
Well, it's not on Rec and Parks land, I think has
Oh, so
been one of the issues in terms of
Which-
having our staff.
which is probably why the money hasn't been spent.
So it's probably on Army Corps of Engineers land and DOT or Public Works land?
I think part of it's just privately owned land as well. It's not, municipally, it's not government, owned by the Corps. So it's making that connection. We should probably work to see if there's a way to, maybe if we need to amend it to allow us to go, to reroute it to make, to achieve the same thing.
Yeah, so what would we be amending? Is the CAO present? Do me a favor, guys, could you give up your seats? Maybe Gerald and the CAO can step forward on this. I'm just trying to figure out what we can do to get this money going.
Claudia Aguilar, excuse me, with the CAO's office.
Do you know how much the interest is?
We need to check with the controller because right now the account, it's not in a trust fund by itself, it's in another trust fund, so we need to see if there's been an interest and whether it's been allocated.
And it would seem to me that the interest would be free and clear. In other words, it's not tied to the contract.
No.
Only the 250,000 is. So we could use that money almost immediately. The 200. So okay. So what I really would like to get a handle on is does the contract specify the area? Which is that's what my staff and Rec and Parks were saying. Are you aware of that?
No, we're not familiar with the specific ordinance, but we can change the
It's not
ordinance.
an ordinance, it's a contract, correct?
It was an initial motion, it was a motion that specified that the monies were to be collected and used for the specific purpose.
Oh, okay.
So it was very specific in its language.
So we just need, so then, if that's the case, then we can just introduce a new motion.
Yes. We'll double check with the attorney, but we'll get back to your staff.
Okay. Then what we'll do, rather than harp on this, and we have speakers here that I want to listen to, but it would be my plan to put this on the special agenda as well. Maybe pull in a couple of community members to help us come up with some projects. If we can identify a better use for the funds and have a nexus to the golf course, then, and I believe there's it's a big golf course. There's a lot of things we could do to improve the horse trails. Then I think that that we'll introduce a clarifying motion, and then whether it's to some of the money for DOT, some of the money for improvements at Hanson Dam proper, the recreational area, because I recently, believe it or not, I recently rode through Hanson Dam And there were a number of areas that would be great for improvement, whether they be, I don't know how you do all this, but some of the trails end with they don't continue. They've been covered with brush and what is happening, and this is the problem there's two problems I'm trying to fix. One is improving the quality of the equestrian opportunities out there. But number two, there's a lot of parties going on in Hanson Dam that are disturbing the sort of flow of things out there. So when we have trails that go nowhere, they end up hiding in these trails and having parties. In fact, I looked at a couple of those places and said, wow, this is a cool place to have a little barbecue, and that's exactly what they're doing. It's almost like we're encouraging it. So what we really need to do is have trails that go, a trail system that we can actually define and maintain it. The other thing is that we're doing a mapping project, and I would like for the map to have those trails defined on it so that people, they get the brochure, they get the map, and they can actually know where they can go on the trails. Well, most of the people know, but I think there's quite a bit of cleanup that can be done. So if we can transfer this money, that might be a way to utilize the money more effectively. But I do want to hear from the community. So my intent would be to continue this for 1 week and hear it with the other item as well, and then at a special meeting, but not at 8:30. At 9 o'clock. And with that, I'd like to take public comment. What is item 13? Why do I have a card on that? This card came in after we acted?
No, actually, that was there beforehand, before we acted.
Okay, I had no cards here when I sent these on to council, so you had them?
Yeah,
Oops. Okay,
by the time I got over there.
it's all right. That's your first one this whole year. You get one every year, so. So I'm going to have to, I will have that public comment, but not right now. Okay, we have T. Kaiser. After Mr. Kaiser, Dave DePinto, and then Lynn Brown. Hey, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
The traffic doesn't make it seem that way.
Especially if you're on horse.
My name is Terry Kaiser. I'm the chairman of the Hanson Dam Advisory Committee. I'm also on the board of directors of ETI National, representing 3,000 people. And I'm also a board member of the Foothill Trails Neighborhood Council. I'm here today to talk about the traffic devices and just how important they really are. Over the past 7 years at one intersection, the intersection of Wheatland and Wentworth, in the past 7 years we had 4 horses that have been killed or had to be put down because of injuries. We have several injuries to people, and it's about time we do something. So these traffic signals are absolutely necessary to have. For the past, well, I guess let's say 10 years, at the Marybelle entrance, it's the one I'll never forget. I had to actually take a dead horse that was in the intersection, tie a rope on him, and drag him out of the intersection. Now there's a lot of problems there. Wentworth is a 50-mile-an-hour street, which means that everybody's traveling 60. There's a fence along Wentworth which has an opening in it for horses to enter and leave Hanson Dam. You have about 5 feet from the end of the fence to the first part of the intersection, and you're right in the middle of traffic, just like that. The neighborhood council, Foothill Trails Neighborhood Council realized how important this is, and they spent 15% of last year's budget they had to put in a equestrian safety gate. This was a gate to stop loose horses from running directly out of Hanson Dam and crossing Wentworth. The gate was installed a week and a half ago, and believe it or not, within 2 days, we saved our first horse. So that just shows the benefit of having gate or traffic controls there. The safety gate, like I said, was completely funded by Neighborhood Council and Equestrian Trails.
Is that a hint?
Pardon?
Is that a hint?
No, it wasn't a hint, but it was gratitude to those people who made that happen.
Good answer.
So all I can say is that we've been waiting a long time for this to happen. If I would have won the lotto, I would have paid for it to have it done. So, and I just hope that we can get something done so we don't have to wait till we get a death because of the conditions caused by our intersection.
Well, thank you. That's, we're hoping to get the work started by January. I mean, that's our goal as of this meeting. And we do have the funding. We have to move some money, but it looks like we have the funding to be able to do all 4 of these projects that are recommended by DOT. I want to thank Brian Gallagher, who met with us in the community about a year ago and committed, actually it wasn't a year ago, it's like 6 months ago, and committed to work with us and came back with very specific proposals and worked with the community. In fact, this is a better proposal than the first proposal in terms of the cost. We could do like a dozen of these things. No, I'm just kidding, Brian. But we'll see how they work, and if they work, it's $30,000 is a very inexpensive cost. I think these things are going to be popping up all over the city, quite frankly.
When you're talking about trails and maintaining trails or fixing trails in Hanson Dam, I know more about it than any other person.
Okay,
And
well,
I would be glad to give you any help you need.
Gerald, I think we need to convene a meeting with DOT and, 5 or 6 community members that are very familiar with Hanson Dam and see if we can't come up with a specific idea of how to use that money.
Yeah, I've been the chairman of
Not DOT, Rec and Parks, excuse me. And DOT if they want to
I've been chairman of the Hanson Dam Advisory Board for about 8 years, so I
Great.
know the history and know everything that's going on.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay, David?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Dave DePinto. I am a resident of Shadow Hills, and I'm also president of the Shadow Hills Property Owners Association, which is the residential community closest to the whole Wentworth stretch of property and across the street from the whole Hanson Dam wash area. Like Terry, I'm here to support the city continuing its involvement in making that pathway safer. We've really appreciated about 6 to 8 months now of dialogue and discussion with a number of committees, in particular this committee and your office, on solutions and ideas to make it safer. We appreciate the time that you and your staff have taken to become familiar with the area. In addition to just expressing general support, I would say I'm a jogger, I'm a runner. I run every day along Wentworth, so I see the speed of the vehicles. I see it in the morning, I see it in the middle of the day. I saw it last night at dusk, and can certainly vouch for the need for the safety measures. I wanted to draw an analogy that our equestrian lifestyle, it's a way of life in our area. Generations before us have accessed the wash, generations today and generations in the future, just like safety crossings for schools, where students have to use the safety crossings and parents have to use the safety crossings because it's a way of life and going to school is a custom and something that they have to do every day. Our folks are going to be accessing those trails come hell or high water. And we think it'd be a great and smart investment in what is really a cultural way of life for our community. As I mentioned, generations before us and generations to follow. And we appreciate what Terry and his organization have done. And our homeowner association represents 2,200 households in that area. And equestrian matters are the top priority for our association and for our board of directors. And whether it's signage, whether it's trail crossings, lighting, all of those things really help, and we're here to support that. We thank you for your help.
Sure. Thank you. Maybe I should just mention I grew up 10 minutes from 5 to 10 minutes from this area. I'm very familiar with it. Grew up just across the tracks, so a mile away from Wentworth, and I know how fast the cars drive on that street. I wish I could say it wasn't me, but we all tend to drive very fast on that street. It's essentially a very broad 4-lane highway, and people drive very fast adjacent to a very active equestrian community, and so it's incumbent, I think, on us to put these devices up, because so far it's been horses, but it's only a matter of time before somebody struck. Not to mention that there is a bicycle trail, there are competitions, marathons, triathlons out of the Hanson Dam area that we're very proud of. And of course, they get special consideration, but when they're practicing and there are no special cones or barricades put up, it could be very dangerous for the people that use Wentworth. So we definitely are going to allocate this money very quickly. Lynn Brown. You represent everybody, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of this groundbreaking ordinance. I'm Lynn Brown. I'm the Vice President of the Los Angeles Equine Advisory Committee, and I'm also the National Trail Coordinator for Equestrian Trails Incorporated. So I'm wearing two hats today. And I'm here to sort of cover for Dale Gibson, who was not able to be here today due to a business commitment. I want to, the practical idea of this motion that you're putting together, which we cannot thank you enough for this historic push that you have put together for us, has significant impact in other equestrian areas in the city. For example, we have a situation now where the Lacrette's Bridge is being built from Atwater over to Griffith Park, which will be an equestrian hiking and biking bridge. It has to cross the LA bike path. And we've been talking about various ways of slowing down the fast-moving road bikers who are coming on that bike path in order to have horses and equestrians be able to get across it. And this technology that you're just talking about, this new technology, we're going to introduce that to the designers of the bridge as a way of being able to do a cheap and an effective way of being able to signal the fact that we need to get across at that point. The other thing that I just wanted to say is that I have concerns about the money that you have being spent on real improvements, on trail improvements. You can easily suck up $100,000 on a short piece of fencing, new fencing or something, bells and whistles. I really would support the idea of what you're talking about, cleanups, connectivity, making more trails. Spend the money there. Don't spend the money on fencing and gates if you can avoid it. But to spend it on real improvements. I'm so glad that you were able to ride there and see what the situation is in that area. So again, thank you so much and congratulations. We're very grateful to you.
Thank you. I really have no idea what we should be using the $250,000 on. But I want to thank Rec and Parks for opening the door to the possibility that we could transfer it to other departments, introduce a new motion, redesignate the money. I want to make it very clear, I want to use it for horse trail improvement. That's what it was intended for. As long as we maintain that, I think we'll be okay. But we're going to need the committee to come together very quickly, and you're right, 250,000 isn't the be-all and end-all. We also have a donor of $50,000, which so we're looking at a pool of $300,000, because I think we can cover the DOT costs with city allocations out of my council district. So 300,000, and then we can start looking at different ways. Now, if we spend too much time planning this thing,
It's gone.
time will be gone and focus will be gone, and I'll be gone. So we want to make sure that we can identify projects that we can get going relatively quickly, that are not that costly, but that spread the benefit as much as possible.
Well, as I said, that money can go like snow in July on some trivial little thing, or it can be used to really be very, very effective in
Yeah.
Hanson Dam and your areas over there.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to go to Griffith Park, that's for sure.
We will not spend it on snow in July.
Yeah, it should go there, and I want to support that at all.
Okay, so we're looking for your help, the committee as a whole, of course, Terry, and some of the other organizational leaders out there, that if you can all come together, we will have a special meeting next Tuesday, but before that, we need to get the group together with Rec and Parks to see if we can come up with some ideas. Ramon, you ready? Okay, and
I
see
think
if,
that there's a lot.
now that's Rec and Parks piece. If there is a piece that is either Public Works or DOT that we might want to enhance as part of that horse trail system, then we also need to get your ideas there. When you're talking Public Works and when you're talking DOT, you're talking expensive. But I know that those horse trails in the Hanson Dam area need much improvement. Although they're wonderful if you want to get out away from the city. But I think we can do a much better job. So
Well,
let's
I'm
see what
sure
we
that
come
the
up with.
people there will have very specific ideas also. I mean, the equestrians in that area will have very specific ideas of exactly what they would like to see.
Well, my problem is I don't want 80 people with 80 different ideas. I really would like the community to sort of hone in and agree on what they think would be the priorities for the use of that money. And then we're going to need the departments to tell us how much this stuff is going to cost, and then we'll figure out where to go from there.
Well, I think that there are lists already out there, so
Good.
we can pull it together. And I
Okay.
didn't mean to cut short Griffith Park. That's where I ride. But I think the money is mainly designed to go to your area anyway, so.
Oh, no, the 250,000 is all going to
All going to that area.
It's got to be, I think there has to be some kind of nexus to the golf course.
Yeah.
Which,
And and we support that completely.
okay. Okay, so
Just keep me in the loop in terms of when the meetings are, and I'll try to.
Gerald will let you know, and it's going to have to be this week sometime, so whoever's available can come together and hammer out some thoughts. Okay, with that, so we'll sit down with Rec and Parks, the community, and have a special meeting next week. Hopefully, we can introduce a couple of special motions very quickly and figure out what to do and get this money spent. Okay, so with that, want to thank everybody. I think I'm really actually surprised at how much we can get done with a little bit of money relatively quickly. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 13, which we received. And what did we do with item 13?
Item 15,
It was on consent?
item 15, no.
No, 13.
Okay, so you're going to 13 then.
That item was on consent, but I didn't realize there were cards, and also I have a letter. So let's call up Mark. I'm assuming that's you.
Yes. Actually speaking on number 19.
19? Glasshop? Mark Glassock? This card is for 13.
Oh, I'm sorry, I put the file number on there.
What's that?
I put the file number on there incorrectly.
Oh. Oh, well then forget it. No, I'm just, I'm just kidding. Hold on a second. Let me figure out what we're doing. I do have a letter on item 13.
That's from me as
Oh, that's supposed to be 19?
well. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what the connection was. Okay. Okay, so item 19. Oh, I see. Okay. You're in support of this motion?
Just general comments.
Okay, well, why don't you step forward, then we're actually on item 19, then. Item 13 is okay.
Good morning. Sorry about that mix-up. Just a few short comments. Most of our comments are summarized in the letter. My name is Mark Glassick, and I'm a policy analyst with Community Health Councils. We are a health policy organization based in South Los Angeles. A lot of our work in the past 5 years has been working on open space access throughout the city, and really looking at this in the realm of the obesity and diabetes epidemic in the city that we see. We feel that increasing access to green space should be a priority of the city and the Department of Rec and Parks. So any policy that talks about park expansion should prioritize a park master plan to strategically plan for new parks. Additionally, and relevant to this motion, we feel like the city needs greater geographic analysis of park service guidelines. Currently, the Park Service guidelines are 4 acres for 1,000 people. We feel that this neglects an analysis of mobility and access to parks for people of different age groups and different means of private transportation. Finally, when assessing reform to Quimby that we feel is necessary, there are other community groups that have done a lot of work and research on this issue, including the Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust, who's conducting a study on the Quimby fee process. And we ask you and Councilmember Weezar to take into consideration this study and other comments from community groups working on open space. Thank you.
Okay, so we are directing the Board of Recreation and Parks to update its recreation plan, essentially. That's what we're doing with this motion. And you would like for them to consider the things that you've just mentioned.
Right.
So we can certainly attach this letter to the file. And what I can do is send this motion on to council with a recommendation for approval, but also with the direction to consider the letter by the Community Health Councils dated December 4th, 2012, as part of their action on this. I believe the spirit of your comments is embraced by both Mr. Weezar and myself, so I don't think we are the issue, but you really have to push it at the Board of Recreation and Parks, which has a certain level of autonomy that is because of its proprietary nature. So I encourage you to do that, and also continue to work with Councilmember Weezar to ensure that these policies actually take root. You have some good comments. I didn't quite understand the issue of the 4 acres per 1,000. Were you saying we should have more or less?
Good question. So that's mainly an analysis of access. So for example, if your community is right next to Griffith Park or Kenny Hahn State Park, your parks, your acreage per 1,000 people will be high, but you may not necessarily have access to that park. Talking about Kenny Hahn, you may have to drive a car to access the park.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Or go around.
And also, it could skew the appearance of your community park system.
Right.
So it could, like I have Hanson Dam, And they say that my community is park-rich, but if you're not close to Hanson Dam, there are many communities that do not have easy access to a community park. And even if they do, they're overcrowded, because not everybody goes to Hanson Dam. In fact, they use the community parks far more. Although Hanson Dam is I think, the most exciting thing happening in the Northeast Valley with regard to parks. So thank you very much. I hope you'll continue to push recreation and parks. I won't be around after June, so I can't help you with that. But while I'm here, you certainly have my support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, with that, then we will send the report on.
Item 15 was approved, considered approved, that was on the consent.
Item 15 was on the consent.
Okay. And it leaves us, I believe, item 16 then, unless that also.
Do we not do 16? What? Oh, it's 15 through 19.
Okay, very good, very good.
They were all on consent. Okay, so I think we're done with our agenda. No more public comment cards. Thank all of you for participating, and we'll see some of you next week. Take care.